2022 saw some major shakeups in the competition, one of which was the porpoising phenomenon. The drivers were bouncing in the main straights and in the high-speed corners due to the speed that is transferred from the long straights. The situation has elevated after the Azerbaijan GP, where drivers like Hamilton, Gasly and Ricciardo all complained about the pain they endured during the GP. Also, Gasly said that he was on painkillers so that he could go through the pain. The FIA intervened for both this and the next season, and we're gonna see some huge shake-up regarding the flaws of the cars for the next season. Want to find out more? Stick with us until the end of this video. First, it's worth mentioning that the FIA didn't leave anything to the case and decided to intervene for this season and the remainder of it. After the Baku GP, where the drivers experienced a massive amount of porpoising, the FIA decided to intervene regarding the planks and the skid wear in the cars, as well as introduce AOM, or Aerodynamic Oscillation Metric. The AOM was initially set to be introduced for the French GP, but got moved for the Belgian GP when the F1 caravan will come back after the summer break. Regarding the planks of the car, some of the teams like Mercedes believe that Red Bull and Ferrari are cheating regarding the flexibility of their floor, therefore managing to get more downforce and reduce the porpoising level. The allowed flexibility of the planks is 2 mm with 10 mm thickness and 1 mm allowed wear. However, there are suspicions that some teams made the skid wear lower so that it could hit the ground before the planks, therefore enabling the plank to not wear as much. If the planks wear more than 1 mm, that will mean less downforce for the car. So this way, the cars are able to generate more downforce, and according to Mercedes, Red Bull and Ferrari have around 6 mm flexion of their plank wear. Also, during the Belgian GP, we should see the introduction of the Aerodynamic Oscillation Metric, which is basically a metric that will measure the amount of porpoising that happens during the race. If the driver fails to comply with this metric, then the team will be forced to raise the ride height or adjust the setups in order to reduce the porpoising. Why is this bad? Because this was a solution from day one, but the sacrifice in performance would have to be done so that the porpoising would stop. Formula 1 is a sport in which top-notch, high-level performance is required, and if the ride height is to be raised, it means that the drag will increase and the downforce will be decreased. However, these are all temporary measures for the 2022 season. This phenomenon has caught the Formula 1 world by surprise, and the teams are now working alongside FIA to find a long-term solution to this problem. Therefore, the introduction of changes to the technical regulations are already planned, and the main goal of these rules is to reduce the porpoising for the upcoming seasons. All of these changes were discussed in a meeting of F1's Technical Advisory Committee last week and are now set to be put to the FIA's World Motorsport Council for rubber stamping. The proposals set out in the TAC meeting are aimed at limiting the design scope of the cars by lifting some of them up off the ground. This means that the cars will have increased, more precisely the floor edges, by 25 mm. However, other parts of the cars will also be raised, such as the throat of the diffuser, by a yet-to-be-determined amount, in order that teams don't overtly flex the floor edges. To overcome these new dimensional restrictions, more stringent lateral floor deflection tests will be introduced. The latter comes after Red Bull and Ferrari allegedly managed to circumvent these rules and flex their floors more than it's allowed. It's not cheating per se, because they are still managing to comply with the rules of the FIA, which require the cars to be measured at 3 points on the underfloor. At these 3 points, Red Bull and Ferrari have passed all of the technical checks and have been in order with the regulations. But Mercedes believes that the team is yet to be found guilty, which could be proven in the Belgian GP if both of these teams were to suddenly lose performance. As a contrary response, Red Bull's boss and reigning champion Max Verstappen have called these allegations total rubbish, as Verstappen believes that the Mercedes is the most flexible car out there, and he has no idea why they're complaining about the flexibility of the floor. As for the 2023 season, to further curb the aerodynamic issues that have been created by the new regulations, teams have also suggested the use of a pair of strakes within the diffuser. This is one simple and very well prescribed solution that is expected to help teams manage flow in this region and also help tackle the disturbing effects of bouncing and porpoising. And rest assured that this will be very well welcomed by the drivers. If you compare the 2023 technical regulation changes to the ones that happened in 2021, you'll notice the huge similarity between them. Back in 2021, the sport opted to trim the floor, brake winglets and diffuser strakes to help depower the aerodynamic potential of the car's rear end. This move was done in order to save the teams from themselves, as they would have gone in the direction of designing cars that put too much stress on the tires. This would cause even bigger problems, and in the same way as those 2021 tweaks, these changes will reduce the peak loads that are imparted on the chassis. With that, they'll also help in reducing the potential for porpoising and bouncing. However, the teams will still look out for the optimum lowest setup of the car and the optimum stiffness of the car possible. They would have to do so without falling foul of the new aerodynamic oscillation metric, as the challenge of finding performance, even if it compromises the ride quality of the car, will still be present. The timeline sheet is also very similar to the changes made in 2021, and it will put a huge amount of pressure on the teams to balance development with the work already well underway on next year's cars. This is why team principals like Horner and Binotto have shared their disagreement when it comes to changing stuff for the next year so late in the season. On the FIA end, they have made it clear that these proposed changes should be ratified by the World Motorsport Council as soon as possible. It's safe to say that teams are going to be hurt by these changes, especially the top-performing ones. This is because the teams have already spent a huge amount of time and money on the development of the 2023 cars, and any tweaks regarding this matter will hurt them in every aspect. If we're looking for guilt here, it's probably Mercedes' fault, because they were the ones pushing the most regarding changes for this and the next season. As Horner said, this is a one-team problem, and just because they weren't able to fix the problem, there is no need to include the governing body in it. Most of the teams indeed struggled with porpoising at the start of the season, and that is something that both F1 fans and team principals don't want to see yet again happening. However, the solution was available from day one, and we've seen that the problem is fixable just by watching how Red Bull performs on the track. Plus, we've seen that even with that problem, you can achieve top-notch results, such as the case with Ferrari. Therefore, an interesting season is upon us, and 2023 should be even more interesting regarding these changes in the floor regulations. Some teams may also try to get an upper hand on their rivals and bring test parts towards the end of the season, as the simulation tools fail to capture the phenomenon of porpoising before the start of the season. What do you think is next for the F1 caravan? Do you think that these regulations will help them in battling the porpoising phenomenon? Or do you think that the solution is in the engineering of the car and they have to work even harder, just like Adrian Newey did in Red Bull, and come out of a solution on their own? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below.